true definition of hero. You've been a hero.
Took a heroic effort.
Every day we bring to our fans the world of sports. We speak of heroes and heroism, but there are days when sports matter little and heroes matter more. These heroes don't hit walk-off homers or buzzer-beating threes. They simply made a plan for what to do when disaster strikes. You never know when you might need to be the hero, because you never know if today is the day before a natural disaster. Prepare, plan, be a hero. Visit ready.gov.
In Fairfield County, something new comes across my desk every day. Crimes are committed, cases are solved, and a community is made safe by the hardworking employees of the Fairfield County Sheriff's Office.
Welcome to This Week with Sheriff Dave Phelan, a weekly program here on LSN Television. We're also carried by a number of our radio affiliates here in Lancaster and beyond. And do appreciate you, the viewers and listeners that join us each and every week. We've got a great guest this week. We had Detective Bryan Kohler with the Fairfield County Sheriff's Office. Good to see you, Detective Kohler.
Good to see you, Sheriff.
Veteran detective, been, 11 years?
11 years.
Wow. 11 years. And before that, you were on the road.
Yes.
Patrol, and before that you were narcotics.
In the jail and narcotics.
Jail, narcotics. So kind of a diverse background. Even within the 11 years you've been within the Detective Bureau, have you noticed any or seen any changes?
Yes, there's a lot of changes going on the way law enforcement's going to the digital age.
Okay, tell us a little bit about that.
With the upcoming social media, different things like that, and the way they can carry out threats and things from computers and cell phones now.
Even the fact that they were just kind of coming into having, like everybody was having a cell phone about the time you started there.
Yes.
Now lately, we've seen in the news a thing called swatting.
Yes.
What is swatting?
Swatting is an act to get a SWAT team, emergency personnel to your door. The main response is with that is they want to get the media there to solicit a response, get the news to make a post on it so then they can comment on it.
So they go ahead and make a false call.
Yes.
And how do they do that without being how do the phone numbers get tracked, or does that become difficult the way with the technology?
It is difficult with the technology nowadays, but they can do it through different programs, different apps. You can do it from cell phones, computers, different tablets, other electronic devices.
And we've had a couple here, haven't we, at least?
Yes.
Tell us a little bit about those cases that you've investigated here in the county.
One of the cases that another detective that I work with was handling was a call was made where an alleged hostage was taking place. That a guy had the homeowners inside and held them captive, and of course that required SWAT team to respond.
Yeah.
And make entry into the residence.
And then there was a second one recently at Pickerington North High School, right?
Yes.
And tell us a little bit about that.
With that one, a call had came into the school itself. An individual had called in stating he was on his way there, would be there within 35 minutes to shoot up the school.
Wow. So tell me about some of the difficulties this poses to the sheriff's office, to the students, even to the staff.
It does become difficult, especially for the students and the school itself, because they really need to follow the proper protocol and to make sure that they don't take it lightly. You know, every threat should be deemed serious until proven otherwise. The main thing with the school is to not get complacent and to follow what they were taught and what they were told.
Now, is this something that's going on across the United States?
All across the United States, yes.
So it's very problematic. You got your when I talk about Pickerington North, I remember we had all of our units tied up. We had Pickerington Police Department there, the Highway Patrol there, detectives there, and certainly a lot of anxiety on the part of parents.
Yes. it is a scary situation, especially from a parent standpoint, not knowing if the threat is true and your student is inside the school.
Well, one thing that when I got some calls from the media about this, Bryan, was they just kind of wanted what I thought as far as the reality or the potential danger. And I think, as you stated, we've got to treat everyone like it's the real deal, like it's the real thing. But as I look back on my career, now over 40 years, having been involved or aware of hundreds of these bomb threats and these kind of threats, not one has ever been good.
Yes.
So it's a very small percentage, but and typically what we would find, and particularly the North's a little bit different on the kind of threat they receive, but many times it's a student, it's someone that wants to get out of school, they're mad at a teacher or something like that.
Yes, that is true.
Yeah, so lots of things on that. You're listening and watching this week with Sheriff Dave Fallon, special guest Bryan Kohler. Executive producer Kelly Roberts over here takes care of a lot of our guests and things like that with the questions and different things. 11 years in the Detective Bureau. I was looking through some of the information that Kelly provided, and been involved with a lot of investigations on burglaries and things like
Yes.
that. What is the most common type of a crime that you investigate?
I would say burglaries and thefts.
Okay. And of the burglaries and thefts that we see, tell us a little bit generally about what kind of suspects we typically have.
Typically, we find that these suspects have some type of drug addiction, and they're actually breaking into people's homes to support their addiction.
What would be the age group?
I would say early 20s up into the 30s. We have had some older than that, but typically that's the range.
Right, right. And what's typically their method of operation when they go up to the house? I know most of these are in daytime, and I think that surprises a lot of people, because sometimes when people think about burglars or something, they think about somebody coming in the middle of the night, but that's typically not what we see, is it?
Not usually, no. Typically they're daytime. Somebody will come to the front door, ring the doorbell, knock on the door multiple times. If somebody answers, they will just say, hey, I'm looking for my dog that I lost, or ask for directions, or ask for somebody by name in general.
And then if no one's there, they go ahead and force entry, right?
That's correct.
There was a time that we would tell, like, parents, if they left their kids' homes for just a little bit, maybe some older kids, or maybe if grandma's home alone or something like that, if someone would come to the door, don't answer the door. But today it's probably better to at least let them know you're there. And
Yes.
say, my dad's busy, come back another time, and then call us, because what could happen is someone could actually be home, but they don't answer the door, the burglar thinks no one's home, and then they go ahead and force entry.
Yes.
Have you seen any cases like that?
We have had a couple in the past where children were home at the time of the break-in. One in general, the child, I believe she was 11, had hidden and was never found, but truly a traumatic experience.
Oh, I can imagine. Oh, boy, how awful that would be.
Yes.
Is there anything that homeowners can do to help protect their homes?
Yeah, basically what I would say is mix up your operations.
Okay.
Typically there's some scouting that goes along. Move your cars around. If you have an alarm, use it. Also get the yard signs. Leave a TV on, a radio on, so it sounds like somebody is in fact there.
Right, right. Looking back on some of the investigations, is there one particular investigation that kind of comes to mind that was really kind of interesting that you'd be able to talk about? I know you've investigated everything from bad checks to homicides,
Yes.
to scrap metal, you name it.
Yes.
Is there anything that's kind of interesting that, I know they're all kind of interesting, but as far as something that kind of stands out?
One of the big cases that I was involved with was a investigation of a homicide in 2005.
Okay. Can we talk about that?
Yeah, it turned out to be much larger than we had originally anticipated.
Okay.
And basically what we had was a person who was murdered and left on the front porch of a new build.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yes.
Okay.
And we had to pick up the pieces from square one and track the individual. Eventually we found him, and it was very interesting from start to finish.
Now, wasn't there a connection there, and this has been a few years ago, with DNA, was able to link the person to the crime scene, if I remember correctly?
Yeah, DNA did link the person that we had, and we were looking for all along.
Wow, wow. And I think that, if I remember right, that had some very, meager clues to start with.
Yeah, through interviews and further investigations, we had the name of the guy, but we did not have the last name.
Okay.
So once the DNA came back, our suspicions were correct.
Yeah, I can remember that morning, and was it a worker or someone just found her on the porch?
Yes, a construction worker.
Yeah. So how many cases do you investigate, within a year? About?
Typically it's between 120, 140.
Wow. So you're busy all the time?
All the time.
All the time. When you go to if someone comes home and they find their home has been broken into, what are some things that they need to do?
The first thing they need to do once they see that it's been broken into is get out of there.
Okay.
Do not go in and investigate yourself. Get back in your car. At the end of the driveway at least, I would suggest even going down the street, call law enforcement, have them check that house before you go in.
Okay. Don't want to go in, do an inventory, because they could still be in there, right?
They could still be in there, and then if there's evidence left behind, then you take the risk of contaminating that evidence.
When we investigate a burglary at a home, what are some things that let's go through the process as far as once the deputy arrives to take the report. What are some things that happen during the investigation?
What usually happens is you'll, of course, take pictures of the damage. You really want to key in on any marks that were used in case you have a series using the same tool to make entry. You want to look and make sure that the homeowners and anybody else doesn't, touch things that are able to be fingerprinted.
Okay.
That is one of the things that homeowners typically do is they go in and just want to go through and see what all's missing, which is great, but let us fingerprint, check for DNA, any blood evidence, anything like that first.
Right. Well, Detective Kohler, we're just about out of time. Do appreciate you joining us and all the good work you do in the Detective Bureau. You're certainly well liked and have done a terrific job.
Thank you, sir.
In your years of service within the Detective Bureau and beyond.
Yes.
Do appreciate you taking time out. We're just about out of time. I do appreciate the staff and the students here at Fairfield Christian Academy, J.T. Burcham, and so many people that put this program together each and every week. So a lot of things go on behind the scenes, and certainly our executive producer, Kelly Roberts. If you have any questions of me, be sure to let us know. You can give me a call anytime in the Fairfield County Sheriff's Office. It's 740-652-7252. Or you can go on our website and we'll be glad to respond. We get a lot of nice comments, and every week we try to have guests from not only within the Fairfield County Sheriff's Office, but leaders throughout the community. In the next week, we're going to be having Chief Mike Tussey from the Baltimore Police Department. He's going to be joining us next week to talk about things that are going on in and around Baltimore. So yeah, be sure to tune in for that. Well, the clock on the wall says we're about out of time. Until next week, same time, same place. God bless, buckle up, and we'll see you right here next week.
These waters were woven into the culture of Native American tribes. The descendants of the early Europeans built a business here based on agriculture. And today, this unique destination in the central Ohio countryside comes to life with stories and memories centuries old. The Fairfield County Historical Parks invites you to amazing Rock Mill. Above the falls of the Hocking River Gorge, here together, nature and man have created some truly American stories that you'll want to experience with the entire family. Visit us or learn more about Rock Mill and the largest wooden water wheel in the nation at historicalparks.org.